Welcome, welcome. My name is WriterMaven. I am the host of the Wrestling Receipts podcast. I follow all things Judgment Day. Dom, Will, Brickell, JD, Finn, and Carlito. And do you acknowledge Daddy Dom as your Intercontinental Champion? Now, I was going to come in hot with some opinions regarding some rewriting of history that I'm noticing, or at least them trying to shift the narrative. But allow your woman, Writer Maven, to do a victory lap and gloat a little bit. Why, do you ask? Because guess who is showing dissension already with their tag team? Giulia and Roxanne. It is shown on the X or on WWE social media, so if you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out when you can. But they're already showing dissension. Now, what did I say about only Giulia? I mean, not only Giulia. What did I say about Roxanne only talking to Finn? Because she did it again tonight, and Giulia was nowhere to be found. And people were talking about, oh, this is where Roxanne and Giulia go after Liv and Raquel for the tag team titles. And people are like, well, first of all, if if Giulia and Roxanne win the titles, they're going to have the same problem as Liv and Raquel, where they have no challengers. But if they were setting that up, wouldn't Finn be talking to Giulia and Roxanne? So Giulia was not there during the second meeting tonight. And since we had that nice little miscommunication during the tag team match in the main event, we got some dissension now. And I called it. Maybe people should start listening to me instead of Corey because I got a nice little. I have a bone to pick with him too. If you don't know who I'm talking about with Corey, this is the dude that is trying to be an insider, or he's trying to show off like he has all this inside knowledge. And I've been picking at him since last year because it looks like we're getting another Wyatt Six situation with how he's talking about Finn, but I'll get into that later. But Writer Maven, I have to take a victory lap. I'm going to gloat. I'm not going to be right all the time, but this is just what I was seeing. I didn't see no need for a tag team between Giulia and Roxanne when they could be separated. And like I said, I would always put Roxanne with some kind of group, and Giulia, I think, can be on her own. Like, I don't think Giulia needs a group. And for damn sure, Giulia and Roxanne shouldn't be in some kind of faction with Finn Balor. But yeah, so I'm gonna pin that. And thank you for the rose, Nancy. And yeah, I am kind of stoked about that. But it is, I mean, that's where just the clues are going. That's why I keep saying Triple H is not subtle. He's never been subtle. If you see that Giulia is not there with Roxanne, then you can assume that Giulia is being excluded for a reason. I had somebody comment well saying like, well, maybe Giulia went to the restroom. I was like, no, that's deliberate. Things are deliberate. If anything, Giulia should have been a part of those conversations with Finn. It would make no sense for Giulia not to be a part of those conversations. It'll be like if Dom was having a conversation with Roxanne. Do you think anybody would be pulling up a excuse for Dom for like maybe not Liv being there if she was there, or Raquel? Like, you give they're giving Triple H way too much benefit of the doubt there, and then trying to spin their own narrative. You have to follow the clues, and even then, not all clues are the real clues. You have to have context behind it. Giulia. I keep calling her Giulia. I know it's the G. Oh, I'm just gonna keep calling it that. Sorry, Giulia. But um, let me get into Raw. I got a lot to say about this narrative push that they're trying to do with Dom, and I've got a lot to say about Rhea coming up too, because I posted a link regarding BC Amplifies videos. You know that is my guy. I love him. He's not for everybody, but he speaks facts, and you're not going to agree with everything BC Amplifies says, but he's usually fact based, and you can believe his news above a lot of these other dirt sheet reporters. So I have that link there. Watch it as your leisure because I'm gonna circle back around to that later on. But let us start off with this little cold open here after my little gloating, that I have to say the WWE is trying to shift narrative and they're trying to rewrite history when it comes to Dom. Why am I saying that? Tonight during Finn and AJ Styles match, we get the comments from Cole saying that where's Dom? And I'm like, um, he's the champion and he's staying in the back like everybody else did in Judgment Day. Like even when Dom was the punching bag and had to soften up people and things like that and have to take the pins, um, was Damien out there? Was Rhea out there? Rhea was out there for a little bit, but then she stopped. But she wasn't like so. She was only out there for like maybe almost a year before she stopped. But Damien, and then the first part of Judgment Day they were out there, but then they stopped. So I'm going from the point where Damien and Rhea stopped. So Damien wasn't out there when he was a champ. Rhea wasn't out there during the second part of her reign, and then Finn wasn't out there usually when Dom had to soften up somebody for him and JD for the tag team titles. So why now is Cole asking where Dom is? You see what I'm saying here? Like, why is it a problem now that Dom is not out here with Finn? Finn had Carlito and JD. Dom did not need to be out there. He asked Finn to take care of AJ like a leader should do. So he shouldn't have to be out there. AJ is not challenging him just yet for the title, even though he declared it like what was it last week. So, but still, he has. It's not like he's been named the number one contender. So Dom doesn't have any business being out there in the first place. He could have been out there to show some camaraderie, but it's funny how this narrative has flipped where Dom is supposed to be out there when nobody was really out there for Dom when he was taking all these pins and shit and softening people up. And then Cole says that Dom is being bossy. Now, y'all know good and well that Dom has not been any kind of bossy. In fact, he's been the opposite. Dom has not had a bossy bone in his body. He's been following people, only now he's starting to get his backbone and is straightening up. But even with this new backbone and with this new confidence, can you say that Dom is being bossy? Straight up. Who was the one that's always been told what to do? It was Dom. Did anybody else say that Damien, Rhea, and Finn were bossy when it came to Dom? So why is it that Dom has to take it, but when it flips around and then Dom is wanting Finn to soften up AJ, and Dom is wanting, and then Dom is pretty much treating Finn like Finn treated Dom. Now all of a sudden he's bossy. I do not like this because we have been watching, all of us. I know y'all, some have come in earlier when I first started, and some of us have come in later. But we have all seen where I've broken down what's been going on with Judgment Day. I've been breaking down how Dom is being treated, how Finn has been acting like this demented demon and a sourpuss, and we just want him out of Judgment Day. And now they're trying to spin it around like Finn is this put on person when it comes to Dom. But it wasn't Dom calling Finn a loser. It's Dom is only bucked up against Finn when Finn was poking the bear with Dom. Like when Finn was talking about what was it, Dom losing, and Dom fired back that he at least won against Damien. Like that was like a retaliatory shot. It's not like Dom was hitting straight off the hilt with Finn. So they're shifting narrative for Finn. And okay, I've always said that Finn probably needs to be the baby face in this feud between Dom and Finn. But they have got it so ass backwards because we've gone through months and months since last year, almost 6 months of Finn just being a negative Nancy. He's been negging Dom. He's been negging Liv. He's been negging Raquel. He was getting after Carlito for losing, even though Carlito keeps putting his body on the line for everybody in Judgment Day, like he did tonight, taking that Mexican destroyer. Like he Finn has been doing that. He's called Dom a loser, like he wouldn't win anything. And then now all of a sudden, Dom's being bossy and Finn is just this poor soul. Get the fuck out. We have to now watch if we're going to get that same narrative shift like they did with Damien and Rhea. At this point, it's not getting to the point where they have rewritten history like they did with Rhea, but they're switching the narrative, and I don't like it because they can still continue Finn being a baby face by showing him have maybe some regret. They can show him feeling isolated from the group. There's a lot of different ways you can shift him from being this grump and demented demon to somebody that can be rooted as a baby face without changing the narrative. There are ways to do it, and if Triple H wasn't such a damn hack, he could do it. But now we got something else to kind of worry about. I still think Finn is getting kicked out. I don't think it's going to be a certain situation where Finn kicks out like Dom, Liv, and Raquel um, like he did Damien and Rhea, or at least initiate or continued it because it would make sense because JD and Carlito will probably follow Dom, and then it'll just be Finn like in a probably a dead faction. Like who's gonna follow Finn in a faction? That's what I keep saying. Like who's gonna follow Finn in a faction now? He has to be on his own. He's always been in this faction for 2 years. So at this point it's just time for Dom to take over as Judgment Day or La Familia and Finn can go on his own. But yeah, like I said, we have now got to watch for the narrative shift with Dom now. Um And before I get into it too far, I was kind of going into it with Corey. Yeah, if you know who Corey is, I've talked about him before. He's like this insider that was always saying that it was going to be Rhea and Io at WrestleMania, and that didn't happen. And then he was saying Wyatt Six and Judgment Day at WrestleMania, and that didn't happen. And then when we got that little board where it showed like Wyatt Six and Judgment Day, he was trying to puff out his chest and say that it's that was true, and I would just say, well, yeah, that might have been in the cards, but it didn't happen. So you can't report and say like, yeah, there might have been there, or they might have been thinking about it, but it didn't happen. No. So tonight he was talking about like, well, the original story for Judgment Day was that Finn was going to be doing all this stuff in the background to cast Damien and Rhea out, and it was going to be like he's gonna bring in Liv to do all that and things like that. And a lot of people, like not just me, like a lot of people fired back on Corey was like, we just got confirmation weeks ago from Liv that Finn did not want her in Judgment Day. So you can't claim now that Finn was gonna bring in Liv to start casting out Damien and Rhea. We've been told by Liv on TV that Finn didn't want her in Judgment Day initially. And then Corey's coming back. Well, that was Finn was going to be this person, doing all this stuff in the background initially. And I said that's not what was presented on TV. That might have been the original plan, but maybe they thought better of it or it changed. It can happen. But even still, Dom and Liv were seen on TV together and in the background for weeks before Finn was even brought into any Dom Liv discourse. That's why I keep saying that Dom and Liv have been together longer than Finn thinks he does. So, it might have been like maybe Finn was going to be the one that's in the background working against Damien and Rhea, but it didn't turn out that way. It turned out to be Liv and Dom. So you can't just twist everything around and just say, well, the plan was going to be this. Yeah, it might have been this, but the story played out that way. So you can't use that for clout. So everybody's kind of going back and forth tonight on the X, but I was just enjoying getting my shots in on Corey because, like I said, he keeps trying to push certain narratives, and he's trying to say that, he's trying to say like he has insider, or not. He's trying to say like he has an insider knowledge, but he's presenting it like that. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of these dirt sheets that want to present like they got all this inside information. And we have seen this year that the WWE can switch all that information on a dime and make it not true. So you have to be careful when you puff out your chest and say this is going to happen. Like that's what happened with Ibu. Like he was trying to say certain things and then he got made looks like an idiot. Then Featherstone was another one. He said Drew was going to win the Elimination Chamber. Who won it? John Cena. And then Corey was saying that it was going to be Rhea and Io at WrestleMania after Io won the Royal Rumble. That definitely didn't happen. So you have to check your dirt sheets. Like I said, I only really listen to Sean Ross Sapp because he at least attempts to verify information, and even he gets shit wrong. And then my other commentator, BC Amplified, who I talked about, he knows some people too, but he does his fact checks too before he says anything. And he's really knowledgeable in wrestling in the background and things like that. So I would believe him a little bit more over all these other dirt sheets. You have to be careful because that can shape how you think things are coming out. Like if it comes out like Roxanne, okay, there's a rumor that Roxanne is joining Judgment Day. Okay, then everybody's thought process is switched up, and then when it doesn't happen, everybody looks like an idiot. So you have to be careful with that. But yeah, so that was just my adventures of the night. I got to gloat. I got to get pissed off at them trying to change the narrative, and I got my shots in on Corey. So it was just a mixed match of stuff tonight. But let's get into Raw, shall we? Raw was a mixed bag, and by a mixed bag, saying that it wasn't feeling exciting. We got our one Judgment Day segment, and then we got the match between Finn and AJ. We got the nice little connections bits with the Rhea, Io, and Giulia and Roxanne match. We had some nice other connecting bits with Chad Gable versus Penta. So at least we got some of that. But other than that, it was just kind of it wasn't a not exciting Raw, and it's a shame because we got a Saturday night main event next weekend, and then we got qualifiers for Money in the Bank next week as well. So maybe, hopefully, things will pick up. But let's let's get into Raw. Starting off, we are in the clubhouse. We have Carlito asking to use Raquel's credit card, and Carlito is just going to wear Raquel down. Like Carlito knew all the ladies back in the day. If you've been watching for a while, you know he was the ladies' man. So he just settled in for a long war with Raquel, and I like it. He's wanting to use her credit card to get something, and she can earn the points, which actually is a pretty good, way of doing things. Like, hey, I'll pay you back. You get to earn points. It's like a win-win situation there. Um, Dom strolls in on his phone, and Dom is talking to Liv on his phone. And see, that's another thing that I keep saying, that Liv is not really being absent from the storylines. You can still have her call. You can still do things like that. Raquel asks Dom if Liv how she misses her, and then Dom says she misses me, which is some really serious sibling energy there. Like, I miss her, but Dom's like, he misses me with his happy self. And then he says that Liv says good morning, but it's night. I'm like, Dom, why are you acting such like the idiot? And then JD is like flabbergasted, like his flabbers are gasted, and he's all like, Dom, do you know about time zones? And Dom's just looking at him like, huh? Oh, it's the whole scene is hilarious. Going back to Dom and Raquel, some people were saying that, oh, this could be the seed of descent where Liv is, obviously caring about Dom more than Raquel. Yeah, we might get something like that in the future, but I would not take this little simple conversation as a seed that is being planted for that future dissension between Liv and Raquel. Like, to me, I'm just taking it at face value. It's just something funny. They're just acting like siblings. Dom is just like, she misses me more. You know how siblings do. Mom loves me more. It's kind of like that. So I'm just taking it like as face value. If they want to show like some little hints of dissension, there's a lot better ways of doing that than just a phone call conversation between Liv and Dom and then Raquel right there. Like, I would expect Liv to be present when they start doing any kind of dissension. And then And then Dom comes up to Finn, and Dom brings up Finn's hesitation. If he's like, if El Grande wasn't there, that was Dom's backup plan with Chad. And I'm really liking that Dom um called that out. I was gonna say that I said Saturday it could have been JD calling out Finn, but I'm liking that it's Dom, so it's showing that Dom is being really, really observant. That's why I'm thinking now when we get to Finn and Roxanne that Dom is just really observant and knows what's going on. And then Finn says that Dom is being paranoid like Damien and Rhea. Now, first of all, here's this narrative thing again, and I'm really watching it to make sure they're not going to change history. When Damien and Rhea were paranoid with Finn, and like when Rhea was getting after Finn, and Damien was like thinking that Finn was after him and stuff like that, the whole "I don't need Judgment Day" bullshit. Um, Finn had not given Damien any reason to at least up until a certain point, he hadn't given Damien any reason to be paranoid. It was only until like Liv like showed up in the Judgment Day clubhouse was when Damien started noticing things. But even at that, Damien was just being a real idiot. Like he wasn't doing anything when Liv was hanging out with Dom. He wasn't doing anything when Finn was trying to help him, Damien would be all hurt about it and get mad at him. So Damien was being paranoid because he didn't have any reason to be paranoid. And then he didn't act like he should have acted. That's where this whole changing history make gets on my nerves, because you present one way and then you flip it and try to go the other way. It's kind of like how Damien didn't do nothing with Liv. Like, you had all the time in the world to do something about Liv, but then you had to call in Rhea to do something about Liv when you could have been helping Dom. Like, where was your good faith effort to help Dom? And then if that failed, then call in Rhea. But he didn't do that. So, you know, the story needs to make sense. But like I said, Finn was saying that Damien and Rhea being paranoid, but Finn has a good I mean, not Finn. Dom has a good reason to be paranoid, or at least concerned, because Finn hesitated. And I'm pretty sure JD is telling Dom too, like on the side somewhere, like, "Hey, Finn was being really hesitant." And remember, Dom watched that whole ending sequence on that Backlash post show. So he saw it there. So if you want to bring that into the storyline, you could just say that Dom just watched the whole ending sequence to his match at Backlash, saw that Finn was being hesitant, and decided to call Finn out on it. That's not being paranoid. So there's a difference between what Damien and Rhea was doing to Finn and what Dom is doing to Finn. Um, when Finn leaves, Dom has the best mean mug to Finn. Like, this is why I love Dom's facial expressions. Always look to Dom's facial expressions. Yeah, he can act like an idiot. He can be goofy. He can be silly, but always check Dom's facial expressions. They are always, always on point. And when Finn walked away, Dom had this look, and I'm just so happy that he's still continuing to have this look, because it really shows you that Dom is on to Finn's game. He knows something is up with Finn, and we don't know how far Dom is ahead in his planning. Like, he was already 2 steps ahead with the Chad Gable Grande Americano thing, so we might still have some things in the works there. Like, Dom is just ahead of him, and Dom has to present himself as this silly character. Like, I was explaining in my group chat, like, you can't flip a switch and just have Dom be super smart or present as super smart. Like, right now, he's being showing more competency in the ring. So you're gonna have to slowly shift him to being a little bit more smart, or at least presenting smart. And I think they're gonna get there. As long as they don't change the narrative too much. But yeah, we do know that Dom is smarter than he looks. We do know that Dom has been planning things deep behind the scenes. he does that with Liv, and it's just that Liv does more of her planning out in the open. With Dom, it just has layers and layers of secrecy, and then you don't know about it until he springs whatever he needs to spring. Like I'm pretty sure, like whenever he runs up against AJ or whenever that is, he's gonna have another contingency plan somewhere. And then at the end of this segment, we have JD take the skull in the Judgment Day clubhouse, and then he's like showing Dom about time zones, and I'm just like, again, it's just hilarious. I do highly recommend y'all go and watch that whole scene because JD having to show Dom about time zones using a skull, it's just that's peak comedy there. And I do make the comment that it's just really interesting that with the skull you saw the core four there using with that skull. Like just the skull is pretty much a symbol with Judgment Day, and that's a symbol with Liv and Dom, and JD has it, and he's explaining things using the skull. There's some symbolism there. There's some symbolism there. You have Dom, Raquel, Carlito, and JD. They all have the skull, and Finn is nowhere to be found because he's out. Like that skull. That's something that's bringing the group together, and you're showing the separation there between that group and Finn. And like I said, it's a representation of Dom. I mean, he had the skull in his Tron at WrestleMania, so we are seeing some really heavy symbolism here. Um, 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 just some other thoughts about this. I like how Carlito is slowly getting to Raquel. Like I said, um, uh, let's see. And I did mention the facial expression. So yeah, I mean that was a nice little segment for Judgment Day. I just want more, but I'm really not liking the raw pacing sometimes because sometimes you can have Judgment Day like all over the place and it's good, and then all of a sudden sometimes they can be down to like one segment or just one match and it just don't feel right. And then during Jay's walkout, we saw in the background again. I wonder if they're using that same. Now that I think about it, you remember how it was Jay that was having a talk with Kathy Kelly when Dom and Liv came out of that locker room? Y'all remember that last year? I wonder if they're using Jay like that here, like he's being a catalyst now, because this is the second time where Jay is walking out where we see Finn and Roxanne in the background. Now, like I said on the X, where is Giulia? Makes no sense for Roxanne to be talking only to Finn if she's going to be some kind of tag partner with Giulia. And like I said as well, Giulia would have every right to be upset with Roxanne if it comes out like she's been talking with Finn. Like Giulia could be just like, why are you talking to Finn and leaving me out of this conversation? Because you can't really say it's like a language thing because Giulia can still, probably can get the gist of things and understand what's going on. So again, Giulia not being there was glaring, and we will see this come to pass um, towards the end of the night during the main event. Um, People are also saying that Finn could be using Roxy to get to Dom through Liv, like use Roxy against Liv so he can get to Dom, and that's possible. I'm still thinking Roxanne is going to get recruited, but it's not going to be in the way people think. It's going to be a recruitment, maybe like with Liv, maybe with Raquel, being 10 steps ahead. Recruit Roxanne because she fit. Like I said, we've always said that Roxanne fit with Liv and Raquel, and you could have that third person there, at least for the women. And Roxanne is going to join in, especially now that she's got this little um, thing with Giulia now. You can drop in. Finn thinks he's got everything made in the sun, and then the turn happens. But I'll get into that a little bit later too. AJ versus Finn. It's a good match. We had Carlito and JD with them, and then I've already talked about like Cole's commentary here, which really is pissing me off because I do not like the narrative changing like that. It makes no sense. Um, We had Penta coming out to take out Carlito and JD. Carlito gets that nasty Mexican destroyer on the floor there. And then here's something interesting. I just thought about this. Did y'all notice how hesitant JD and Carlito were prior to Penta's interference? Like, I was thinking, okay, first I was thinking that maybe they were doing that because they were waiting for Penta to, hit his cue and stuff like that. But JD got really overly concerned with, like, what was it? Carlito was showing like his mouth or something, like his teeth or something like that. And I was thinking, I wonder why. I wonder if JD is stalling, kind of like how Finn stalled. And I might have to think about that a little bit. So we do get the Penta interference, but was JD and Carlito stalling like Finn stalled with Dom? I might have to go back and look at that a little bit because it just struck me that was a little bit of a stall there. That, like, I would expect Penta to be there faster, and it's possible that Penta missed his cue or something like that. But it's just interesting. I have to go back and look. Uh, and then Penta interfered. This gives AJ the win because Finn Balor is Finn Balor, and Penta will tag with AJ against Finn and JD next week. So we will have that next week. We'll see if Dom shows up on that one as well. Next week is also where Liv is supposedly returning. So maybe Liv shows up for that too. So who knows? But we got that tag match next week. Okay, now y'all know that I'm trying to restrict how I talk about Rhea sometimes, but I gotta talk about Rhea, Io, Giulia, and Roxanne because, first of all, why is Rhea being introduced last when Io is your champion? And don't say it's because of the pop, because you could have had that pop um earlier, or like introduce, like have her, like have the faces come out first and just have Rhea come out first and then Io. But why is it that Io didn't get introduced last? Like, why are why is Rhea the focused here? It's pretty much acting like Rhea's like the only person important in that ring, and I didn't like that. Giulia and Roxanne had that miscommunication. And I said here in my notes prior to me seeing what happened on the X that this might play into the Finn meetings, and I was right. And then Rhea pins Giulia. Why? Why the fuck did Rhea have to pin Giulia? Now I'm kind of glad that Roxanne didn't get that pinned, but still, that's Giulia. She's like on the first thing on the main roster in this tag match in this main event, and here's Rhea pinning her. Why? I said on the X, like, Rhea's already had her annual pin, so she's not going to get pinned in this match. So it's going to be either Io, Roxanne, or Giulia, and Giulia got the pin, and it makes no fucking sense. Like, why couldn't Io get that pin? The same thing that happened at War Games. Like, you have War Games, you could have given an Io that pin on Liv so she could have some kind of build into Saturday Night main event. But no, we had to have Rhea there taking the pin. And then the same thing happens tonight. Rhea takes the damn pin. And why are you doing that to Giulia? If this is a call up for Giulia, why is she getting pinned already with Rhea? Like, I know Rhea's all the way up there and stuff like that, but still, like, that didn't need to happen. And of course, towards the end, we got Rhea holding up, looking at the title again. So we got now Io stuck in the Rhea Ripley vortex of stuck, because Rhea is now going to get another rematch to her major match until she gets her title back. And she's probably going to get that title in Perth in October. So we're going to have to probably deal with Io not having like any challengers, just like Liv, until they determine that it's time for Rhea to get the belt back. And I am sick to fucking death of it. Io doesn't deserve to be sucked into Rhea's vortex of suck and have like no challengers. And the same thing with Liv. I'm tired of it. Rhea needs to take like somebody said Rhea needs to take like 2 years of side quests away from the title, and I'm like, she almost needs to have 5 because how the heck are we going to still condemn Charlotte for always being in the title scene? And then at least with Charlotte last week on SmackDown, at least Jade said that Charlotte needs to get in the back of the line. Like, how come nobody's saying that to Rhea? Somebody needs to say that to Rhea in her face. Like, hey, get in the back of the line. You lost. And here you are, still eyeing the title. Is there no one else on that roster that can't eye the title, Io's title? Like, I know what they're doing with Liv and Raquel, so take Liv and Raquel out of it. Even though I don't agree with it, but take them out of it. Is there anybody else that can at least look at Io and challenge? Like, give me Natty. I don't, if you're not, give me a Natty challenge. If Asuka and Kari are supposed to be coming back, give me those challengers. Like, somebody come up and challenge Io. Why are we waiting around on Rhea to decide when she wants to go back for the title? I'm sick of it. I am just done to death of it. She needs to be away for the title for at least a year. At least doing some other shit. I'm tired. And people always say, well, she's the biggest star in the company. I don't give a fucking damn if she's the biggest star in the company. If Cody fucking Rhodes can lose his title, then she can be away from the title. Like, Cody is gone right now. And this is the man that put the WWE on his back and did all kinds of side quests before looping back around to getting the title after he lost the first time. It's not like he was still in the title contention after he lost at WrestleMania 39. After WrestleMania 39, after he lost, he did all kinds of side quests and shit and built himself up until he could challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. We don't see Rhea do that. And even with Roman Reigns, after he lost at WrestleMania 40, he went away for a while, then he came back and did the bloodline shit, but he was away from the title, and then the only time he came back around to try again for the title, it was at Royal Rumble. It's not like he was always hanging around Cody's title. And even when he did interact with Cody, he did, he did say like he still wants his title, and that's fine, but he didn't obsess over it. Rhea just needs to exit the title scene. I don't know what you can do, but she needs to be away from the title. She doesn't need to be in all these WrestleMania matches like that, title matches. She needs to either go for some kind of tag. She needs to go somewhere else. I don't even think she needs a tag title. Just give her another. Just give her another feud somewhere. Go stick her with Wyatt Six. Go have her feud with Alexa. Maybe she can learn and grow as a character by getting exposed by the Wyatt Six or something like that. Do something. I'm tired. What is this? Jay never had a title shot. She deserves it. Good thing you don't run WWE. Well, you know what? I don't have to listen to you, whoever you are. Like, look, you came on my thing. You're getting muted. Like, I'm tired of Rhea. But I'm gonna talk about her a little bit more. But yeah, see, but I said all that to say this. So Giulia got pinned. Now we got this nice miscommunication between Roxanne and Giulia now. And now we're gonna probably see Roxanne talk to Finn more, or maybe even talk to Dom more, or Liv more, or something like that. Because of that, maybe they try to do something else next week. It fails, and then Roxanne is on her own again. So we'll see what happens next week. Um, Another thing about Rhea, because I'm still gonna talk about her ass. BC Amplified. I put the link in my pinned comment here. I would like y'all to look for BC Amplified on YouTube. It's his latest video. It should be available for non-members now. But he was talking about people that are on contract. Now he will go through like the public listings on the WWE websites because they're required by law to show who is on contract. And BC was talking about Zoe Starks. Zoe Stark is like the last member of the PFC or stud line, as I like to call them. Y'all know that Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville got released earlier, and it's Zoe been on her own. But BC said something really interesting in regards to Zoe Starks. So it looks like Zoe in this next couple of rounds of cuts, um, will um, will probably not get her contract renewed. And he also said that she has been vocal about her treatment and placement in within the WWE, which is totally fair. I like Zoe. She was doing really good in NXT. She was doing some really good matches at Money in the Bank. She had a really nice feud with Becky and with Trish. Um, then during that whole build there. Now I will say that Becky is Becky Hogan, but Becky did do a lot to build Zoe up there. But guess what happened right after that feud with Trish and Becky? Zoe ran up against Rhea and lost twice, and she kind of fell off after that. Like she would be in the Money in the Bank, but after that, it just seems like she fell off. And BC was saying, but that it looks like Zoe and Rhea have been butting heads, and it actually makes sense for what happened with Zoe because BC mentioned that you remember when Rhea posted that where that video came out with on the live tour in Europe where Rhea was smacking her butt with a kendo stick and Zoe had something to say about it. And we all thought it was like going to be like a right to censor type gimmick with her. And I was like, I could get that. You know, you could do that, you know. And I was annoyed with Rhea doing that at the time because that's that whole like you're going viral for doing some gooner shit when anybody else doing that would be called out for that. Like, I don't think if Liz did something like that on the live tour, like I don't think people would be gooning after her like they would be Rhea. They'd be calling her out like, "How are you doing this? How are you sitting back women's wrestling? Yada yada yada." Like with Rhea, she gets exempt from that whole conversation. So when Zoe posted that, you know, and then you had the comment from Rhea, BC was saying like there's some friction there, and it makes sense. Now, take all this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that what BC is amplified is saying is true, but when you connect the dots there, it really makes sense. Like how Zoe's momentum kind of stopped like a brick wall when it hit Rhea, and that's what happens with a lot of women. People don't want to see it and want to comment on it, but that happens with a lot of the women. You go up against Rhea, and your momentum is halted, and then either you get out of her vortex and thrive like Liv is doing and Raquel, or you don't, like what happened with Zoe. And yeah, that's the whole Zoe thing. I'm gonna speed through your questions. Like I said, I can't really stay long like I used to, but thank you for your patience. Thank you for all the lives. I thank you for the roses, um, things like that. Barbara Girl says Liv coming back next week on next Monday on Raw. Yeah. Kenji says Finn was talking to Roxanne. Yeah. Kenji said I'm happy Dom stood up and told Finn about what happened at Backslash. Yeah. Um, Leah says I miss Liv. I need her back. Yeah, she'll be back next week. Jacob said Dawn never once called Rhea when she was out for 3 months. Yeah, like he's at least talking with Liv now. See how easy that works? Kenji says Rhea once again going for Io's title. Yeah, and that's super annoying. Kenji says some people are saying that Raquel is turning on Liv because of what Dawn said to Raquel. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying take that as face value. I'm pretty sure if they're going to do something to send, Liv will be physically present to start that off. And she says, I have a feeling Finn is turning on Dom when Dom fought AJ because Finn is cool with AJ. But they're not really. I mean, they're cooled off, but AJ and Finn fought too. So unless they forget that piece of history, I do think that Finn is going to get cast out. I don't think Finn is booting any more people. Christina says, do you think Liv and Raquel talked to Roxanne about joining Judgment Day? I think they might do that to be a step ahead of Finn. And you said Dom's not bossy. Finn is the one being bossy. We never see Dom bossy at all. Exactly. We don't. He's been getting Finn title shot after title shots. Like, how is Dom being bossy when he's been doing that at the detriment to his own title aspirations at the time? And she said, I guess Roxanne and her partner is out. The picture for Liv and Raquel since they lost. Yeah, see, you would think that would springboard them into the tag team, but it didn't. HP says Roxanne is going to be added to the Judgment Day by Finn for supporting his Liv, but that's going to backfire. Yeah, I think so too. I think Finn is trying to send people be slick about it. Like he's gonna try to add when he was all on Dom for trying to add somebody to Judgment Day, and it's gonna backfire. 50 says Dom needs to rub the belt in Pat and the whole face. Yeah. Kendall says Dom actually talked to Liv while she was gone, and not Rhea while she was gone. Yeah, like again, like it takes two. It takes two people. They both have mouths. Rhea could have called Dom, and Dom could have called Rhea. But here we see Dom and Liv have been in communication with each other. Like at Backlash, they say they text all the time, so they've always been in some kind of communication. Rhea didn't do that for whatever reason. Um, and yeah, I wonder what's going to happen next week since Liv is coming back next week. I mean, she could be in there for maybe the Roxanne recruitment, or when Finn and JD may lose to Penta and AJ, or maybe that whole thing, maybe she'll be there to start something up. So there's a lot she can do. Jacob says, "Did you see Raquel has new merch in the shirt?" Yeah, I posted about that on the X. She just does have two new shirts actually. It's on the WWE shop. Manny says Giulia's not ready for Raw. See, that's my thing too. I think she can wrestle and do things like that on Raw, but I think she needs to be in NXT a little bit more. Ricola says like he did to Rhea, Damien, and now Finn. Yeah, he just flipped the script and now everybody's all heard about it. Dom. And G says some guy said when Finn gets the briefcase, that's when he's gonna turn on Dom by catching in on Dom. I don't even think Finn is gonna win Money in the Bank. He says imagine Roxanne and Finn start a relationship together. Instead of Liv and Finn, it's gonna be Roxanne and Finn. He said, did we see Liv getting the IC title the match with Dom? We can see that. He said, did we see the Dom podcast? I knew there's a no. I know there's a new one. I'm running through this real quick. I'm sorry. 97 says Rhea is all Triple H booking. Yeah, and it's just really blatant at this point. Muggy says they're trying hard to keep Dom as a heel as Finn as a face. Well, they're so ass backward with Finn. Like Finn has been negging Dom to the point where he's pretty much in this tweener role, and now they're trying to reverse it now and have Finn go face. So it don't make sense. Kendall says changing and erasing history, we know what we saw and not be brainwashed. Yeah, that's the thing. We have history, we have records, we have video when it's on like on Netflix and Peacock and all that. We know what be seen. So them trying to change the narrative is just really annoying and aggravating because we're not being treated with the care like we actually watched the show. Ricola says Zoe has to come back with that old character of calling all the women trans to put them in check. Yep. Jacob said, "What do you see? What Liv posted on IG something about a marriage proposal? I have to check that after." 97 says apparently Stephanie is going to Raw soon. She might. I think Stephanie is more prepared for Raw than Giulia is. Kendall says Dom is still 5 steps ahead of Finn. Yeah, like Dom, by the nature of Dom just calling out Finn, he's already ahead of the game. Like he's not being dumb and blind about it. And that's it. But like I said, I will talk to you guys later. To wrap things up, quit changing the narrative, WWE. Dom is still ahead of Finn, 10 steps ahead. And we will see what happens with Roxanne and Finn and Judgment Day. But until next time, I bid y'all all adieu. Ta-ta for now. See you later. Thanks for tuning in to the Wrestling Receipts podcast. Remember to follow me on the X at WMaven, WWE, and on TikTok at WriterMaven for more wrestling insights and live reactions every Monday night after Raw. Until next time, I'm just saying.